Okay, so just giving you guys a brief history to set this up. Um, for those who may have come to Team Phenomenal Hope later, Team Phenomenal Hope started out in 2012 as an organization when we started a nonprofit to partner with Pulmonary Hypertension Association. And in 2014, we did this little race called the Race Across America. And it was a 4-woman team. And in 7 days, 7 hours, and 15 minutes, we raced across the country from Oceanside, California to Annapolis, Maryland. And while we were elated to do this race with Pulmonary Hypertension Association, with the PH community, and literally seeing people all along the way through social media and all across the country and at the finish line, we realized that our real race in pulmonary hypertension is not yet done. And one of the things that Team Phenomenal Hope wanted to do, in addition to donating money to Pulmonary Hypertension Association back at the time of the race, was actually set up a fund for research. And so over time, we gathered more people, and in fact, recruited people internationally with Team PH Brazil, not literally racing with patients, as well as Team PH Germany, where Katrin and Axel race for their daughter who lives with pulmonary arterial hypertension and do fantastic tours over in Germany. We had Team PH Mexico, which is very much a family affair. And we had Team PH recently, Team PH South Africa, join our ranks. And we brought on new athletes here traveling abroad to New Zealand. And we also brought on new athletes in the United States, literally all over. And everybody brought their enthusiasm to the cause of raising money for research and raising awareness about pulmonary hypertension. We soon realized that it's really not about racing for patients, but literally racing with patients. And so we set up a campaign called our Let Me Be Your Lungs campaign. And literally, just like Team PH Brazil and everybody, we race in honor and in memory of PH patients. It's a very personal affair for all of us. We also brought the community together at the Pulmonary Hypertension Association meeting a couple of years ago with our Team PH Peloton Challenge. And it was really about fostering community and bringing people together in this common race and common fight against pulmonary hypertension. We also developed an unmet needs fund at the time of the hurricanes a couple of years ago, and that has evolved, and recently we've granted unmet needs grants to pulmonary hypertension patients, especially in the time of the COVID pandemic. As we did this, our community has really grown, and we couldn't do this without everybody getting involved. It's not just athletes on bicycles or even the individual patients they race for, but it's actually people who also put on these tremendous special events. Shown here in the upper left-hand corner is Orna Levy, and she put on a fantastic concert event. And then shown down here is an event we're going to talk about real soon, which is the Phenomenal Hope 5K. It started in 2014 in Pittsburgh by Julia Feitner, a member of our board, and now carrying the torch is Kayla Frattini. And it's been this incredible event that I've been able to go back to Pittsburgh every year now that I live in Denver and be a part of this tremendous community where literally it's patients and athletes and people who may never have heard of pulmonary hypertension coming to this PH5K. This year, because of the pandemic, we faced difficult times, and Kayla faced difficult times. However, she decided to make her event virtual. So even though I couldn't travel back to Pittsburgh because of the pandemic, I could still participate, as could everybody who wanted to around the country and around the world. And it was amazingly successful. And Kayla, through her event, raised over $35,000 that will be going towards supporting research. And so with that, we really want to say thank you so much, Kayla, for doing this event and carrying the torch and just doing such a tremendous job. It means so much to all of us. And I'd like to just invite her to say a couple of words about what it was like raising funds for the PH5K, or through the PH5K.
Hello, everyone. As Patty mentioned, I'm Kayla, and I have had the honor of taking over the 5K from Julia 3 years ago. And in the 7 years that we've had this event, we've actually been very honored to be able to raise over $222,000 for PH research. The event continues to grow every year, and it's something that is very exciting and very humbling to get to witness year in and year out. Raising money for PH research is very important and very personal to me, as I lost my own mother 4 years ago to PH and scleroderma. My mom always participated in clinical trials. She believed that it was very important to participate in them because while it might not help her, it was important to try and help the next family. And in her honor, I have wanted to continue out her mission in pushing research forward for the pulmonary hypertension community. And the best way I knew how was getting involved in the PH5K. Little did I know that it would become I would become the race director of it, but it has been very humbling for me to get to see where it has come over these last 7 years. And today especially, it was very exciting for me to get to see where all of that hard work has gone and get to see the research that has come out of the money that our PH community has raised. So thank you, Team Phenomenal Hope, for letting me have this opportunity. And thank you guys for continuing to live out that mission and providing these grants for PH research.
Great. Thank you so much, Kayla. We really appreciate your hard work. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. All right, I'm going to go back to my share screen here. Okay, so next, we've had other really significant events through the years as well, and especially in recent history, that have specifically supported our Global PH Research Fund. And that includes Callie's Gaming for a Cure event in 2019 with special thank you to the Lynn Scott family and Jamie and the Salesforce charity team, and JonTron Live Charity Auction. Special thank you to Martha and Sergio and the family and the JonTron show. That was a blast a couple of years ago. And of course, as I mentioned, Orna and her Friends for Life concert. And you know, this is also possible because of everybody who's contributed, every athlete who's raced with us, and everybody who's donated to our cause. And so we really thank everybody who's made today possible. So I want to share with you guys a little bit more of a behind the scenes. We've showed you, we've talked about research, what goes into research. We've shown you the lab a little bit with the behind the scenes tour. And I also want to share with you what it's like to have a research fund, a research award fund, and what goes into determining grants. And so the Phenomenal Impact Fund for Global Research, this is something that's been near and dear to my heart since the beginning of Team Phenomenal Hope. The idea that we're going to maybe fund some young investigators' research that will make this ultimate difference in this disease. It's part of the legacy of what we do, and it's very important to what we do. And so how does this all work? So basically, what happened is we had a call for proposals. So we put out a request for letters of intent for people who want to submit potential research projects. And we also recruit a study section, independent volunteers, people with MDs or PhDs who can help review the science of the grants. And then there's first an initial review. So the questions that go through the initial review are, did the applicant meet their criteria? This year, we wanted to focus on a clinical research project. And then for our award, if they're an MD or a PhD, we really wanted our award, which amounts $50,000 in funding, to go towards somebody earlier in their career. If it's somebody that's already successful, obtaining multiple grants of larger amounts than what we have, we figure they're likely to have that success without our pilot funding. So we really wanted to foster somebody very promising and earlier in their career. And they have to not already be funded to do the research. So that's also important. And then we invite people to submit a full grant with budget for review. So if they meet those criteria and it looks reasonable, we'll invite them to actually send in a full grant, about a 6-page grant and a budget for us to review. And the research committee chair reads the grants, assigns them to the reviewers on the team, and each grant has 2 main reviewers. And everybody reads and scores the grant on a basis of 1 to 5. 1 is the best and 5 is the lowest. And this system, by the way, is not a Team Phenomenal Hope invention. This is actually how grants are reviewed, whether you're submitting to the NIH or whether you're submitting to other industry grants or whatever it may be. This is sort of a standard protocol and process. So our research award committee was headed by, for the 2nd year, by Hap Farber. And he did an amazing job really pulling this together. And I also want to give a special thanks to the other people who participated. Hunter Champion, who was a co-founder of Team Phenomenal Hope back in 2012, and Dr. Rebecca Vanderpool, who you just saw the Vanderpool lab tour, and myself. And this is a picture from our Zoom meeting, as we did not meet in person this year due to the pandemic. So this all happens, you know, HAP sends out our grant assignments. We all read them on our own time, and we rank them, and then give the scores, send them back to him, and then he comes up with an average score for every grant. And we reviewed a total of 11 grants. If there was somebody affiliated with a researcher who submitted the grant, they'd have to recuse themselves, leave the discussion, and they could not be a primary reviewer on the grant because of conflict of interest. What's really interesting, you know, for 2 years in a row is that these people, you know, we each get our grants, we write down our scores, and most of the time the scores align pretty well. And when they don't, if they're far apart between the 2 reviewers, then we have to have extra discussion to try to sway either one to come to a happy medium. And usually each person kind of starts hedging towards whatever the new average will be. The 7, out of the 11 grants, we had 7 that had the lowest scores. They had brief discussion. And how that goes is the primary reviewer presents the grant, summarizes it, talks about what they liked, what they thought might benefit from being changed or revised, the reason for their score, and then reviewer number 2 chimes in and adds any score, and then people discuss it, and maybe the score will adjust slightly. And we discuss every single grant because we don't want to miss anything, and we want everybody to be a part of that discussion in case perhaps, you know, one reviewer or the other was, quote, having a bad day. But again, people really align well, and we see that both pre-committee and in the committee. And then when we get to the top 4 grants, we really had 4 research award applications this year that could have been funded and that we wish we had enough money to fund. So it was pretty incredible, actually. So how do we pick the best grant out of those top 4? So the main focus of the reviewer, like when you're sitting by yourself and scoring it, is to read and score the grant on the science. So is it the best grant? Like, you know, is it the best designed grant? What is the study design? Will they succeed? So we're asking people to give us a proposal where they're going to do research in the next year, and hopefully a year to a publication or a year to getting to their goal. So we try to ascertain scientifically by how they've written up their methods, will they succeed? And then we talk about feasibility. So, you know, will this grant funding be enough to make this particular research a success, or is like what they're really trying to do $1 million grant and this isn't going to cut it type thing. And then of course, you know, does it fulfill the call for research? So this year, really our only limitation was let's make it a clinical project this year. And then ultimately at the end of the day, we really want to ask ourselves, you know, does this grant live up to the mission of Team Phenomenal Hope? Will it be the most likely award to succeed and make a difference in the lives of PH patients? And so with that, this year's recipient of the Phenomenal Impact Fund for Global PH Research wrote a project titled Living with Pulmonary Hypertension in Latin America, A Patient's Perspective. So it's been shown that patient quality of life is actually associated with increased survival. And patient-reported outcomes, research that we're seeing now in patient quality of life is an extremely high area of interest right now. There are grants and patient-reported outcome grants that are getting funded by NIH and by medical societies. So this research project aims to reveal and analyze the needs and challenges of over 20,000 patients and caregivers living with pulmonary hypertension in Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, Paraguay, and Peru. And this research study is going to interview both healthcare providers and patients, as well as parents of pediatric patients, to better understand patients' quality of life and their outcomes. The unprecedented end result of this study is going to actually enrich how public and private policies for PH patients can be developed to better impact people's lives in the region and allow the development of further global projects with Team Phenomenal Hope and other organizations to influence Latin American stakeholders in order to push them to provide the needed assistance for the PH community. And the committee felt that the type of findings that we'll find from this research and the unique angle coming from the patient's side can actually lead to findings that would even apply to the United States and worldwide. So it was quite tremendous. And so with that, the winner of our 2020 Phenomenal Impact Research Award is Paula Menezes from Brazil. And her title is Living with Pulmonary Hypertension in Latin America, A Patient's Perspective. So congratulations, Paula.
Thank you. I was doing the same pose as the picture now. See you. Oh, thank you. I'm really thrilled with this. I just have to thank you to thank Team Phenomenal Hope, the committee, for supporting us in this incredible project. It's always disappointing sometimes when it cannot be funded for our project because they don't fit in sponsors' priorities. So this is a great opportunity for us. Also, Patty, this sunny person, I have to thank you. You believed in my crazy ideas since the first day we talked 5 years ago, and we are doing a great job together. Stephanie, my coworker, who really dedicated herself to put into words this amazing project, and who also believed we could make it. Maybe she believed it more than me, and she believed that we could receive this grant. And to Latin America leaders, some are really close friends, and I saw they are here. I think we are all surprised with this opportunity for our region. And they understand that we are working as a group, as a region, will make us stronger. So I'm willing to start this project. And also, last but not least, my family, my husband, all these projects take our time. Like today, it's a sunny day, a sunny Saturday. We're just out of lockdown in Brazil, and we are here waiting for this announcement. So sometimes our emotional balance is also affected. So it's really important to have this support at home. And I hope I can honor this research, this grant, and we'll do our best. And I have to say that Colombia, Paraguay, Peru, and Mexico were chosen not by coincidence, but because I really believe we have this, we can have a real snapshot of our region if we work with these countries. Thank you, and let's start the work right now.
Congratulations, and thank you so much. It's absolutely amazing. So, so with that, I'm gonna just lastly, share my screen one more time. And I wanna just say thanks. Today's town hall was in part sponsored by Acceleron. And as I mentioned before, Team Phenomenal Hope in general would not be possible without support from our sponsors. And they make what we do possible so that the funds that we raise through events are able to go towards research or go towards the Patient Impact Fund when they're so designated. And so that's because we have a nice foundation of support from our industry partners. And with that, I'm gonna stop my share and open up the floor to any questions. If you want to put them in the chat box, or if you want to raise your hand, we'll be here for a little while and answer any questions that you may have about research, what you've heard today, about Team Phenomenal Hope, about pulmonary hypertension, whatever you want to discuss. And finally, before I even get there and before anybody leaves, I definitely want to thank everybody who participated today. Thank you so much, everybody who came to this Zoom meeting to learn about research, to hear about our project, what we do. It's just amazing. And we really appreciate you because you make what we do possible. We see ourselves not only as a community, but as a team in this. And so thank you so much.